In this video, I'm going to walk you through an example of using an OpenID Connect identity provider, in this case, Azure Active Directory, to provide authentication for my Kasten dashboard. While configuration of the identity provider itself will vary, configuring Kasten to use any OIDC-based solution will be very similar. Configuring authentication can be accomplished using Helm settings during the initial install or at any point post-install. In my case, Kasten's already been deployed, so first I'll capture my existing Helm settings and save them to a YAML file. Next, I'll refer to the Kasten documentation for required parameters, starting with OIDC auth.enabled set to true. Now, I need the URL of my OIDC provider. Since I haven't created it yet, let's hop into my Azure AD console and make one from scratch. Under App Registrations, we'll create a new registration for my app, which I'll call Kasten Dashboard. Next, we need to tell the provider where to redirect after a successful authentication. This is a predictable URL that we can pull directly from the Kasten documentation. In a production environment, this URL is likely externally accessible via HTTPS, but for my example, I'm going to redirect back to localhost, where I have a port forward configured to access the Kasten gateway service. In order to get the provider URL, we can view the endpoints exposed by our new application. Let's open the OpenID Connect metadata doc, and then I want to locate the issuer URL value. This is our provider URL. Next, we want the root of our redirect URL, which in my case should point back to localhost on port 8080. Scopes define what information is being requested from the provider. In this case, we want to request the default value, OpenID, as well as the profile scope, which includes information such as preferred username. For OIDC prompt, I'm going to use the default value of select account, but be sure to refer to your individual identity provider's documentation to understand your available options. Next, I'll return to Azure Active Directory to get my client ID and secret. Under Certificates and Secrets, I'll generate a new secret for my client and copy the secret into my values file. By default, our username claim is the sub value. In the case of my identity provider, preferred underscore username yields a more user-friendly result, so I'm going to configure that and set my user prefix to dash to skip adding any prefix value to our username. Finally, we need to specify which claim can be used for Kasten to learn what security groups an individual user belongs to. This is important as you would typically manage role-based access control at the group level rather than assigning permissions to an individual user. I'll go back to Azure AD and add the groups claim to my app so it's returned during authentication. Again, this configuration is going to vary from provider to provider. And with that, I'm ready to apply my updated configuration using Helm Upgrade. Once all of our Kasten pods have reached a ready status, I'm ready to refresh my browser and should expect to be prompted for a login when attempting to access the dashboard. I'm now logged in, but we can see I have zero access to any data or functions. This is because we need to assign permissions to a security group for our demo admin user. Rather than assign to a single user, let's assign to a security group from our identity provider that our account belongs to. Under Groups, I see that I have a Kasten Admins group that contains my demo admin user. I'll create a new cluster role binding, assigning the built-in K10 admin cluster role to my security group. I see that I also need to create a role binding for the built-in K10NS admin role to allow users in my security group to access relevant secrets and config maps in the Kasten install namespace. Now that we've added these two bindings, I can refresh my dashboard and see that my demo admin user account now has the proper access. Be sure to check out other videos in this series for more examples on how to get started using Kasten, and visit the link on screen to claim your free Kasten license today.